Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to day 3 here at SUMA. Been an amazing few days so far. By round of applause, how many of you had fun at the gala last night? The meal was spectacular. How many of you have sore feet from dancing to Fog Dog all night? They were amazing. I was told they were billed as be playing the classic hits. I was a little disappointed because I thought those were the hits. Now I feel old. I didn't realize that we were listening to the classic hits last night. But it's been a great night last night at the gala. I know we're tired, but tonight, or this morning, leads into an amazing piece for you. This is your chance to have the eyes and the ears and the attention of the people that are critical in your world. We've had this morning where you had the delegates day with the provincial government. You had the opportunity to have dialogue with the ministers. That was an amazing session. Round of applause if you were at the session this morning with the ministers. Well, we are going to keep that theme rolling. This is another big part of your day, a chance to get in and ask those questions. I know backstage they're ready to field those questions and talk with all of you. We have the Bear Pit with the Premier and his cabinet coming up next. At this time, I'd like to invite Randy Donauer, SUMA Director and Councillor for the City of Saskatoon, to the microphone. He'll be taking the reins from here forward and running the Bear session. Big round of applause for Randy Donauer.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. My name is Randy Donauer. I'm a City Councillor for the City of Saskatoon, and I serve on the SUMA board as the Saskatoon City Director. Today, I have the pleasure of moderating the famed Bear Pit session. This session is a favorite for our delegates as it provides you with the opportunity to question Saskatoon's provincial government on their policies and initiatives. Can you hear me? Okay. If this is the first time attending Bear Pit, I'd like to explain a little bit about how it works. For those of you that have been here before, this is a reminder about the rules. Questions will only be taken from registered guests with blue, yellow, orange, or gray name tags, and the SUMA staff will be watching for that. We want to ensure that our delegates have access to the ministers. To ask a question, please proceed to a microphone. I'll acknowledge you by the number on the microphone. I think I'm going to have trouble seeing 1 and 2, so I'll be asking if there is anybody at microphone 1 and 2. When I call that, just speak into the microphone, tell me if you're there, because I can't see them real well from up here. So to ask a question, proceed to a microphone. I would recommend, if you want to get a question in, queue up early, because it's very common that we see lineups, and we do have a hard stop so that the ministers and the Premier can get back for question period. So if you want your question asked, start going to the microphones early and get in line. I'll call out by the number posted on the microphone stand. I'll remind you we all have a role to play in creating a respectful environment. Just like we run our council meetings, we expect courtesy and respect from our residents when they come. We expect the same here this morning. When you come to a microphone and I call you to speak, please introduce yourself, give your name, your position, and your municipality. I'll remind you that we will only accept one question at a time, and statements are not allowed. We do that so we can get as many questions in from as many municipalities as possible, so we will ask you to honor that. We only have 1 hour and 15 minutes scheduled for this session, so to allow for as many questions as possible, each speaker will be given 60 seconds to ask your questions, so be prepared. At 60 seconds, the staff will cut your microphone off, so don't get mad at me. There are timers on the screen for your reference. Again, this is so we can get the most amount of questions in as possible. So prep your question and know what you want to say. We will also respectfully ask cabinet ministers to limit their replies to 2 minutes, so please use the timers on the screen for your reference. I'll ask each of you now to either turn your cell phones off or set them to vibrate, and I'll remind you this session is being recorded and live stream, and it'll be available on the SUMA members portal so you can reference it after convention as well. Now that we have the rooms out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Honourable Premier Scott Moe, the Premier of Saskatchewan, and his cabinet. Let's give them a hand and welcome them on stage. Thank you so much. I'll just do a brief intro. Good morning. Thank you.
Randy.
Minister Mayor.
See you, buddy.
Good to see you, sir. Thank you. Good morning. Good to see you. Good to see you again. Good morning, sir. All right, so I'd like to thank the Premier and Cabinet for attending here this morning, and I would like to invite Premier Moe to go ahead and introduce your Cabinet, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Randy. And I will start at the far right. We have Tim McLeod, who is our Minister of Justice. Next to Tim is, I believe it's Everett Hindley. He is our Minister of Education. Next to Everett is Terry Jensen from just north of the city here. He's our Minister of Social Services. Minister of Health is Jeremy Cockrell from North Battlefords, pardon me, and that matters. Next to Jeremy is Laurie Carr from Estevan. She's our Minister of Rural and Remote Health and Minister of Mental Health and Addictions. Ken Cheveldayoff from this fine city of Saskatoon is our Minister of Advanced Education. Travis Kiesig, the Minister of Environment. Next to him is your Minister, our Minister of Government Relations, First Nation and Métis Affairs is Eric Schmaltz. Who's next to you, Eric? Warren Keating, our Minister of Trade, Export and Development. Colleen Young from Lloydminster is our Minister of Energy and Resources. Next to Colleen is Dave, is our Minister of SOSBuilds, as well as the Minister of Highways. Next to Dave is Jeremy Harrison. Yep. Jeremy Harrison is our Minister of the Crown Investments Corporation. And down, hiding at the end, who should maybe move into the center here a little bit more, is the Deputy Premier of the Government of Saskatchewan and our Minister of Finance, Jim Ryder.
There's a chair here. There's a chair. I don't know if he knows if you're joking or not. Do you want Minister Ryder? He never listens to me. All right. Thank you, Premier Moe. We'll invite you, if you'd like a couple opening comments to make, go ahead, and then we'll jump right into questions.
Just be very quick and say thank you, first of all, to everyone here for what you do in your community and providing the leadership that you do in your community and liaisoning with not only the provincial government but other levels of government as well as surrounding communities. Strong communities make for strong regions, which make for strong provinces, which ultimately make for the strongest nation in the world, which is where we live. And so thank you for the role that you play in that, and thank you for putting your name forward in the most recent election. Second, thank you for being here today, and I hope you had a great convention. But thank you for being here over the next hour, hour and a quarter, where we have the opportunity, and this is a very, very beneficial time for your provincial government, where we have the opportunity to, in a very short period of time, get a peek into what the priorities are in community after community from corner to corner in this province. And we may be able to provide some context, we may be able to provide some answers to those questions, or we may have to follow up and have a dialogue with you as what you are asking might be something that we need to look into, and we'd take it under advisement. And so I just want to, on behalf of the provincial cabinet and more properly the government of Saskatchewan, thank you for this interaction here today. It's one of the most beneficial hours, I would say, for the provincial cabinet and the government of Saskatchewan when we have the opportunity to participate in this and see very much what the priorities are in community to community across this province in a very short period of time. So appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Premier. We're going to go ahead and get started with questions. If you'd like to line up at the microphones, I'm just going to go in order of the mics for now to keep it simple for me. I will remind you when I call out your microphone, please speak clearly, directly into the microphone. Give us your name, your position, your municipality. I'm going to ask because I can't see. Is there anybody at microphone number 1? If so, please speak up.
Yes. Yeah.
There is? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, give us your name. You have 60 seconds.
David Lopez, Councillor of the City of Lloydminster. This is for the Minister of Education and Advanced Education. Thank you for taking your time today. As we face increasing housing shortages and rising in costs, we must recognize that this crisis isn't about bricks and mortar anymore. It's about people. and at the root of it is the critical shortage of skilled trade workers. Without electricians, plumbers, carpenters, and builders, we can't build the homes that we so desperately need. If we truly want to address housing and drive economic development, we need to invest in the education of not just universities, but the trade schools, apprenticeships, and career pathways that make the trades attractive and accessible to our youth. We have to change the narrative. These are essential, well-paying careers that build our communities literally. Let's work together, empower the next generation with the tools that they need so that we can build the future and get the kids more interested in wanting to become a trade and make trades cool again.
We need a question, sir.
How are we going to get more of the kids and the youth interested in getting into the trades so that we have trades coming in the future?
Thank you.
We'll start with Minister Cheveldayoff and then Everett if you have anything to add.
Well, thanks very much for the question, and it is a pertinent question. We have a thriving, growing economy, and essential to that is a vibrant advanced education sector. And we're very, very proud of the regional colleges that we have around the province, Lakeland, for example, that services Lloydminster. And those regional colleges, first of all, they follow the growth plan that we have in the province. We have set very aggressive targets for ourselves for 2030, but in order to reach those targets, we have to have the skills and the labor that's necessary. And the brokerage model that we have, where regional colleges are affiliates with Sask Poly and the U of R and the U of S, they work together very well, and we certainly want to make sure that those areas that are most in need have the complement of educators and students to ensure that happens. A very exciting program that's happening in our regional colleges is the BHP Academy, where we're partnering with the private sector to ensure that we have the exact type of employees that companies need on the other end. And that is going very, very well, and it's set an example. But specifically to your question, it is top of mind. It is a top priority for us, and we are working with regional colleges, Sask Poly, U of S, U of R, SIIT, First Nations University, and others to ensure that happens and that growth plan is followed and that those targets are not only met but exceeded.
Yeah, and thanks, David, for the question. Just from the Ministry of Education standpoint, further to what Minister Cheveldayoff said, we are doing some excellent work in this area through our partners at the Saskatchewan Distance Learning Corporation, the SAS DLC, which offers the online courses to high school students to present those opportunities to students at a younger age. So we currently have a construction and carpentry 10 and 20 class offered through the DLC, as well as an electrical 20 class that helps teach students about residential wiring, for example. So, and we continue to do some excellent work through the DLC, partnering with Darren Gasper, the CEO, and his team there about expanding additional courses in the years to come. I know that there's been increasing demand for DLC courses. They've seen their enrollments rise, and it's yet another opportunity to provide students in that high school space the opportunity to get some training and perhaps start some early planning for careers, particularly in this area of construction trades.
Just to add to Minister Hindley and Cheveldayoff's comments, it's actually very relative to just this past week. I had met with some folks in the trade union space, actually in the construction sector, and we're advancing a discussion to maybe work together to create some curriculum through the Distance Learning Center, so that would be available to all students across the province, like we have done with the Automotive Dealers Association, the Ag Dealers Association, the energy industry, as well as some in the mining industry as well. And so there's some opportunities as well for some of the trade unions to, with the support of the government, do some training in this construction space as well as to garner some interest in that K-12 space through the Distance Learning Center, which we're doing in some other spaces. So I would watch for some of those programs to be available in the near future.
Thank you very much. I'll go to microphone number 2. Your name, your title, your municipality. You have 60 seconds.
Coral Dale, Mayor of the Village of Pierceland.
Welcome.
I've asked this question before, but I have to raise it again, and it is, we're a border community, and we go to Cold Lake for our healthcare services, 20 minutes away, and when we need any procedures done, we're being forced to go to Saskatoon or North Battleford. And as soon as we need, for example, cataract surgery, they say you have the wrong address. So our people are being forced to drive 3 and 4 hours for a procedure that could be done 20 minutes away. And the same thing is happening with cancer patients. And they'll go to Cross and they'll be diagnosed and then they're sent back to Saskatchewan. And why can we not have interprovincial health care like we're supposed to have?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. You know, and certainly I'm well aware of some of the challenges we have in our border communities. I speak with, you know, living in the Battlefords, I speak regularly with Mayor Albers, and so hear a lot about Lloydminster. I'm not as familiar with the Pierceland and Cold Lake issues. I'd be happy to learn a little bit more about the specific challenges. But I know, you know, for example, I had a meeting with Creighton not too long ago, and some of the challenges that we have on that side of the province with integrating with Manitoba. We're going to have some challenges, I think, in the coming little while. Just Alberta's making some fairly significant changes to the way that their health system is set up. So we're still understanding kind of how we can plug in with that, both in Lloydminster, but in other border communities as well. You know, I'll say on the surgical piece, you know, we have aggressive targets around doing more surgeries in the province and doing specifically more surgeries in our regional centers. And you used the cataracts as an example. You know, we have a very capable ophthalmologist in the Northwest that travels between North Battleford, Lloydminster, and Meadow Lake to do those procedures. He's a very busy surgeon in the province. Certainly, we're open to looking at how we expand services to more sites. But to do that, we need to make sure that we have the teams in place and the equipment in place as well. But I'd be happy to follow up with you directly and hear specifically. I hear a lot from Gerald, and I'm happy to always talk to Gerald. But it'd be good to talk, have a further discussion with you about the Pierceland Cold Lake dynamic and how we can help with that.
I'll be available at any time.
You bet. Thanks.
Thank you, Minister. Microphone number 3, please. There. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Tony Head, City Councillor, City of Prince Albert. I want to talk about something no one has mentioned here, and that is Jordan's Principal's funding in our schools. It may seem misplaced since municipalities don't control education, but I also think that if we genuinely want to resolve the inequalities in our populations, then we need to address the issues at every level. In 2018, this government released the Inspiring Success First Nations and Métis Pre-K to Grade 12 Education Policy Framework. It lists improving quality of life as a moral imperative because, and I quote, First Nations and Métis do not share the same quality of life as the general population, and graduation is a key step in helping young people realize healthy and fulfilling lives. In order to achieve the goals of this framework without adequate funding, many school divisions around the province assess funding through Jordan's Principle. Recently, the federal government implemented changes which means that the funding is likely over. Just to be clear, the children predominantly impacted are Indigenous residents attending public schools.
Tony, I need a question. Okay. It's got to be 5 seconds or less here. Your time.
Will this government replace the funding so that Indigenous children can continue to thrive, or will it continue to blame the federal government while our children suffer?
Thank you. Minister.
Tony, thanks for the question, and just on the broader issue, and I appreciate your concern raised on behalf of the city of Prince Albert and the students that are there and in the surrounding area as well. Just on the Jordan's Principle piece, we are going to continue to negotiate and work with our federal counterparts on that to understand the changes that they are implementing or contemplating, I guess. We know that has had an impact, for example, on the number of EAs that are hired in Saskatoon. And there are other areas, other cities, other communities around the province that would be impacted by this as well. So we want to, again, recognizing that the education portfolio is a shared responsibility between the provincial government, in the case of First Nations students and families, the federal government in some cases, and plus the school boards. And I know that the president of the Saskatchewan School Boards Association, Sean Davidson, is also present here as well, and this would be a conversation we'd have at that level. level. In terms of our commitment as a provincial government, we do want to ensure that every student in this province has every opportunity to succeed. We're starting to see students. I've recently met with groups such as the Northern Lights School Division, met with the representative, the third vice chief for the FSIN not that long ago, to talk a bit about what sort of additional partnerships can we do, not just on funding, and that's a significant component of it, whether it's through programs like Following Their Voices as an example, and other areas that are specifically designated towards improving First Nations student outcomes, but around curriculum and some opportunities there as we're going around developing a curriculum and redeveloping that, part of the provincial education plan as well. How do we make sure that we're using all of these levers and tools of government, whether it's provincial funding, federal funding, you name it, how do we pull that all together so that at the end of the day, we're providing the best opportunity for students to succeed. So the point is well made and taken. I thank you for that. And again, it's something that we as a provincial government take very seriously, and I intend to follow up and have those conversations with our federal counterparts when talking about the significance of Jordan's Principle funding and the federal government's responsibility, working in collaboration with us at the provincial level and with school boards and school divisions to make sure that we're doing everything to help students succeed. So thanks for the question.
Thank you, Minister. We have large queues, which is awesome. We want to get to all of them. So I'll remind you, I'm taking the last question at 11:10 because we have a hard stop at 11:15. So please have your question ready because the mics will go off in 60 seconds. We want to hear from as many of you as we can. Microphone number 4, your name, your position, your municipality, please.
Rick LaLiberty, Mayor, Northern Village, Beauval.
Thank you.
We have a chronic problem of teacher shortages in the north. We have communities and positions that we haven't been able to fill. And years ago, the north provided a program called NORTEP NORPAC. That was to alleviate those programs, and it was a success. Any community member could apply from any little village, any big community in the north, and they were eligible. All northerners were given an opportunity to go into teacher profession, and then we expanded to professional access college to see if we can get into engineering, law, administration, medical health. These are issues that are facing us today. We can't fill the nurses' positions, we can't fill the teachers' positions. Can you reinstate the NORTEP NORPAC program? Because when you took the
Minister.
Thanks very much, Rick, for that question and that suggestion. You know, we're looking at all types of alternatives and looking at you know, what's the best way to deliver that programming, and when we understand that there are teacher shortages in certain areas of the province, and we're working to address those. We work very closely through the regional college system with Northlands College, and try to be responsive to the needs of the area and of the economy. And certainly we'll take that suggestion forward, and I'll consult with my ministry officials and see if there's some more work we can do in that area.
And if I could, thanks, Rick. Good to hear from you again. We had a chance to meet at the SSBA conference in December in Regina. Something else I can just add to that. I mentioned a little bit earlier having a recent meeting with representatives from the Northern Lights School Division. This was one of the main topics on the agenda, was trying to fill those vacancies for teachers. There's been some great work that's been done by Northern Lights School Division around incentives, around hiring of professional recruiters. My understanding that's been doing some great work since this past summer. I think there's also some conversations happening now with a similar school division in Manitoba to better understand how and perhaps learn and take from Manitoba's experience if there's any lessons that can be learned to try and help address some of those challenges around and finding unique solutions to addressing the teacher shortages. So definitely a major priority for us on our radar screen for the Ministry of Education. I committed to the Northern Lights School Division that we would be there to help assist them and continue to have those conversations about how the province can be at the table to help address. And they've got some very creative ideas and solutions, I think, that we are very interested in trying to pursue unique and new ways to find teachers for the North, and the ones that will also stay there for the long term as well. But thanks for the question.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'll go to microphone number 5.
Thank you. Robert Pierce, City of Saskatoon Councillor. Thank you for being here. Mr. Premier, nearly 3 years have passed since the province placed a 106-bed shelter in our residential community of Fairhaven. And it's a decision that continues to create serious public health, safety, and crime concerns for thousands of people and numerous businesses in Fairhaven, Park Ridge, Confederation Park, Confederation Suburban, Pacific Heights, Blairmore, Kensington, and Meadow Green communities. 2 years ago, promises were made that beds would be reduced in this shelter should another shelter open. Now, another shelter has opened. I recognize, and the community recognizes, that there is a need for more shelter beds, but unfortunately, those shelter beds need to be done responsibly. So I want to ask the province a two-part question. First, will this government honor their promise to reduce the beds in Fairhaven now that another shelter has been placed? And will you work with the city in order to find replacement beds for those shelters? And secondly, will you consider replacing the operator, as more successful operators seem to be in place and seem to be enjoying much more success with the communities around them? Thank you.
I can start that, Terry, and you might add a little bit as well. So to the first question, yes, and we understand there's been an additional shelter that has been open. However, the need has increased, as you identified as well, we do need to invest in some additional emergency shelter capacity here. At that point, we would consider reducing the size of that because, again, to your point, we need to have these in a way that is controlled to the degree that they don't have a significant impact on the neighborhood. And smaller shelters seem to be able to more fit that particular space. And I think in that we could find agreement. We're continuing to work with Saskatoon Tribal Council with that shelter there. We're not considering replacing the operator of that particular shelter. But as you know, as we look at expanding those spaces, and we're coming to the communities to help the province in finding locations for those spaces. And it's imperative, I think, that the local municipal councils are part of that. And so the emergency shelter space is one place that we are investing. But at the root of what we're seeing in our communities, whether it be homelessness, whether it be crime, often is, not entirely, but often is the drugs that have entered our communities. And any concrete or credible plan when it comes to addressing homelessness and not only funding shelter spaces that are operating, but funding that continuum of care into transitional housing, supportive living, and ultimately into your own home, often involves a recovery aspect, as addictions are not entirely responsible, but largely, I think, in play in there. And so any credible plan when it comes to housing has to have a very ambitious plan when it comes to dealing with addictions. And I spoke a little bit about that earlier this week, that this province has very much a focus, and I can't state how serious the provincial government is when it comes to focusing on a recovery-oriented system of care and building that capacity and building those access points. And I mentioned the complex needs shelters, how that is an access point. The urgent care center operating in Regina, 2 of them coming to Saskatoon, that will be an access point into mental health care and addictions care. But second to that is enforcement of the laws that we have. And actually, as we see this week, there's legislation in the Legislative Assembly that is further increasing the consequences for any of those individuals that are going to make these drugs available in our province and in our communities. And so we're not looking, to answer your question, we're not looking at replacing the operator. However, we are continuing to work not only with the City of Saskatoon, but other cities across the province on, what is the best model moving forward, bringing in additional operators to ensure that we have that service for those that need it for a temporary period of time. But we're doing so with minimal impact on the surrounding community or the community as a whole. And so very happy to continue that conversation, not only with you, but with councils across the province.
Look forward to it as well. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Premier.
you. Thank you very much, Premier. Going to microphone number 6, please. Your name, your position, your municipality.
Good morning, everyone. Tony Cernick, City of Estevan, Mayor. The decision to rebuild our coal fleet took great fortitude. This will provide the energy city with much needed economic activity. This will provide Saskatchewan with reliable and affordable power. This is Saskatchewan's power company. This is our coal. Minister Harrison, Minister Laurie Carr, and the Honourable Scott Moe, and to everyone else involved in this decision, on behalf of the City of Estevan, thank you.
Jeremy, you likely have something to say on that? Minister Harrison, do you have anything to say on that?
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks, Premier. And firstly, I want to say thank you to you individually, Tony, for your leadership, and through you to your entire council, and through the council to the entire community of Estevan, who have been great advocates and have really made a very compelling case. Just to be clear, we haven't made the final decision yet. We're getting very close, I would say, though. And the lens through which we are looking at what our power security future in this province is going to be are really through those two lenses. It's going to be reliability and affordability. Those are the lenses that we are looking at that future through. And all of this is how we bridge to nuclear, because that really is the end state to which we're seeking to get. And I think it makes a lot of sense for us to get there. Challenge with nuclear is it often takes a little longer than we hope, and it often costs a little more than we wish. But that is where we need to get to. So how we get there really is going to be an all of the above approach. That will include renewable investment, that will include things like biomass, hydro, gas. But also, this is why we are very much taking a very, very serious consideration on life extending our coal plants. Which have served us very, very well over the last 50+ years in this province, and frankly, which have been maintained at a remarkably high level by our SAS Power staff, who deserve a huge amount of credit. In many cases, a generational amount of credit. It's families that have really maintained these facilities and given us the opportunity to make the decision that we're looking at, which many other provinces, frankly, wish they had the opportunity to do. So. What we have committed is to our employees and to the communities to have a final decision by July the 1st. I'm hopeful it'll be a little earlier than that, that we'll be in that position. But I want to say thank you to you, Mayor, and your council, and also municipal representatives from the community of Coronach and from the rural municipalities in surrounding areas who have really made a very, very compelling case about what that future should look like. So. I want to say thanks, and you'll stay tuned, because there's more news to come.
I maybe just add a little bit of continental context or even global context to this as well. Jeremy's right. As we move forward, it's really going to be about an all-of-the-above approach when it comes to electricity and access to energy, and our role not only in providing access to that energy and electricity across Canada, but throughout the continent of North America. And as you see the very chaotic discussion that's happening, much of it coming out of the White House today, you'll hear the words often energy dominance. And an all-of-the-above approach when it comes to electricity and oil and gas and all of those products. Saskatchewan plays a significant role in that. $10 to $15 billion, which is all of our oil and gas, does find its way to U.S. refineries. We are linked with the U.S. electricity grid as well. When you hear the Trump administration talk about energy dominance, it isn't specifically about energy and electricity. It's actually about data centers and the advancement of AI technology. And there is a feeling that in North America, and the U.S. in particular, that we are losing the AI race, the artificial intelligence race to some degree. And you are going to see throughout, in particular the U.S., massive outbuilds of data center, which require very, very high levels of electricity, and that's why you are seeing the American administration take an all-of-the-above approach. And most certainly, what is driving our decisions here is affordable, reliable power for you and the residents that we collectively represent, the industries that we are attracting, but also to play a role in that not only American energy dominance. And what I say to my American counterparts when we're in Washington, D.C. or wherever we are, is there is no American dominance if you don't put the word North in front of that phrase. There is only North American energy security, and Saskatchewan plays a significant role in that, and Saskatchewan is going to continue to play a significant role in that with our all-of-the-above approach, extending our coal, the lifespan of our coal assets to ensure we have affordable, reliable electricity as we transition to a new source over time, likely nuclear. We don't have a lot of other options, but it is significantly we're looking at that and going through the regulatory process as we speak.
Thank you, Premier. Very quickly, is that Catherine? Is there anybody at 1? No? Okay, there is at 2. Microphone number 2.
Thank you. Aaron Keenley, Mayor of the City of Yorkton.
Thank you.
I want to express my sincere gratitude for the reliable support provided through municipal revenue sharing. It remains a vital source of funding for our communities. However, as we face the growing and complex challenges of mental health, addictions, and housing instability, our municipalities and the local nonprofit organizations we rely on are being stretched beyond capacity. The need for more reliable and increased funding from the province has never been more urgent. Given the increasing pressure on municipal resources and community organizations, will the province commit to enhancing stable, long-term funding specifically targeted at addressing mental health, addictions, and homelessness at the local level?
So I'll take that to start with, and then maybe Minister Schmaltz will want to talk about municipal revenue sharing. This year in our provincial budget for our health portfolio, 7.8% of what we are spending is going directly into mental health and addiction supports. It's the highest that we've ever spent in the history of Saskatchewan, and a lot of that funding is really going towards what the Premier talked to earlier about getting people into recovery, getting them the supports that they need when and where they need it. So recovery doesn't just come in one form. There are many different forms, and as we know, we have a very, very vast province that you know, someone can't be at face-to-face. So it's kind of an all-hands-on deck when we were talking about a recovery-oriented system of care, whether it be intensive inpatient services overnight or intensive day services where they come to a facility during the day and they have that contact at night. We have virtual services available. We always have our 811 health line that is available for people to contact in case of emergencies so that they can connect with services that they need. But I think we are showing that we know that there is a lot of work to do and there is more work that we have to get done. But we are setting that base with the 500 spaces that we've committed to opening over a time period. We're well over halfway there at this point in time, and we're committed to getting to that. But to the core root of this is truly getting those illicit, dangerous drugs off the street so that we're not dealing with some of these issues going down the road. And so we are committed to helping out with mental health and addiction supports, and I'll turn it over to Minister Schmaltz to talk about revenue sharing.
Thanks for the question, Mayor Keenley. I want to talk a little bit about how our economy is directly affecting our municipal revenue sharing program and how that's increasing every year. This year we are slated to have a new record number or record amount of dollars flowing into municipalities through our municipal revenue sharing program, $361.8 million this year. That's up, I believe, 21.5 over last year. So it's continually increasing. And I indicated this in our dialogue session earlier this morning that the percentage of PST paid back into construction projects is also paid by the provincial government. We pay into, you know, the massive dollar figures that we're spending on things like nearly $1 billion in a hospital in Prince Albert. We're paying PST on that, and that portion of that PST is going back into municipal revenue sharing. And that the government does not access the municipal revenue sharing for its projects, so that goes right back into your municipalities here represented today. So those are important things to remember. Also, as far as advocacy on behalf of the province, the Ministry of Government Relations regularly reaches out to the federal government looking for opportunities and where we can partner on new funding models like ISIP, the upcoming CHIF program. Those are all part of our advocacy work that our ministries do collaboratively across cabinet here to ensure that we're providing funding opportunities for infrastructure and to support our communities. So, thank you.
Aaron, just very quickly, to answer your question, yes. And I would just go back to this government very much is focused on you know, providing the recovery opportunities and providing the supports for, you know, folks that have, you know, are in a very difficult time in their life. And you're seeing that happen largely in Saskatoon and Regina with the well, starting with the capacity of the recovery beds, which is not specifically in Saskatoon and Regina, but is across the province, often operated by community-based organizations. If you have a community-based organization that might be interested and capable of operating something like that in the Yorkton area, or if you want to work with us on finding one, we would be interested in that, as we're only at about 264 beds of our 500, and we'll likely have to go beyond 500 when we achieve that. You're seeing the pilot program of the complex needs shelters, which is creating access into that recovery space as well as our urgent care centers providing access into that space. The next conversation now that we need to have is to not specifically Saskatoon and Regina, but some of our the next size of communities in the province. We've seen the city of Prince Albert, for example, has seen the benefit that is happening with the complex needs shelters and has asked to open up a dialogue for that community. And so my answer to you is yes, and please reach out through your MLA there, David Chan, and sit down and have a conversation with Lori about what that might look like in those next tier of cities and towns, for example, because it's not just a challenge in Saskatoon and Regina, it's in many of our communities across the province.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Premier. Microphone number 3.
Sinos Timon, Councillor City of Saskatoon. This question is to Premier, and it regards to the Saskatchewan Income Support Program. A few years ago, you introduced this policy, which was intended to promote physical independence. However, the shift has been met with some concerns from landlords, community-based organizations, frontline advocates. Many reports that the policy has directly contributed to the increase of housing instability and homelessness across our province. Given the overwhelming evidence and feedback indicating that this policy has failed in its intended goals and is, in fact, worsening the housing crisis, will your government commit to repealing this policy and returning to the model where rent is paid?
Thank you. Sorry, thank you.
No, because we can do that today. And for anyone that is may find themselves on the social income assistance program, we can set up, the ministry can set up that opportunity for those rent dollars to flow directly to the landlord. You're right, the program was revamped to some degree in an attempt to create fiscal responsibility and sustainability for those that are on this program. It was always intended, and previous premiers from other parties have indicated it was always intended to be a bridge program to provide supports for people, whether they be between employments or whatever the case might be. And that intent is still there. And so that's why the changes were made. The changes were made with an eye to where it is required, and in some cases it is. There are opportunities to have those dollars flow directly through to whoever the landlord might be for that individual. That being said, largely not entirely, but largely what is impacting some of the homelessness that we're seeing, vandalism, crime in our communities, is addictions. And the drugs that we are dealing with today are not the drugs of a decade ago. They are far more addictive and have a far larger impact on individuals that unfortunately find themselves in a life and living with addictions. And so I come back to this government is very much focused on our recovery-oriented system of care, building that capacity, building the access points into that, providing people an opportunity for recovery, and it's our intent to provide that to everyone in the province that should need it. But we're also going to be coming as well with enforcement of the law, and that's why you see very specific investment, provincial investment into not only municipal police officers and RCMP officers, but also our Saskatchewan Marshal Service to support those other enforcement agencies. As I said earlier, whether it's homelessness, whether it's vandalism, crime, no credible plan in that space can ignore the drugs and addictions issues that we're dealing with, not in Saskatchewan, just Saskatchewan communities. It isn't exclusive to us. It's across Canada, it's across North America, and in many cases around the world. And it takes a very different approach than maybe what the approach was 10, 15, and 20 years ago with a very different kind of substance, not the poison that we're finding in our communities today.
I think I'll just maybe tag on to that, Premier. The last point in time count that was done in Saskatoon, and this supports the reason behind this, the last point in time count in Saskatoon indicated from those that were contacted on the streets that were experiencing homelessness was 82% had identified as having a substance abuse issue or an addiction. So this is why it's so important to meet these individuals where they are, where possible, and learn more about them and what is happening to them, so that we can get them that treatment that they so desperately need, so that we can then start moving them along the housing continuum and getting them into some stable housing. So just to tag on to Premier's comments, that's how that fits within the Saskatoon context.
Thank you, Minister. Going to microphone number 4. Your name, your title, your municipality.
Good morning. Kelsey Morrison, councillor with the Village of Sedley. My question is for the Minister of Education, and it's about childcare and your government's choice not to re-sign on to the childcare agreement, as 11 other provinces and territories have. I've heard your reasons, but the risk of losing out is too high. Our community has been working tirelessly, hundreds of hours of fundraising and literally volunteering to build our center. We're about a month away from opening, but we're concerned that your government's unwillingness to sign on right now could mean that operational funding will end. These centers bring so much to the sustainability of our rural communities, between local jobs, keeping our schools open, and attracting more young families to keep our communities alive and viable. So my question is, when can we expect to hear that you've signed on to this agreement?
Thank you.
Kelsey, thanks very much for the question. Just to be clear, we are going to sign the agreement. We will do that, and we are fully prepared, ready to negotiate with the federal government. Obviously, there's a federal election on right now, but I have had conversations with the former federal minister, as well as a couple of follow-up letters with her and the following minister that was appointed after the shuffle just prior to the federal election. But Saskatchewan will sign that agreement. We recently, just by way of knowledge, we recently signed back on March 10th the National School Food Program agreement with the federal government. We were able to conclude those negotiations fairly quickly, but we will sign that agreement. We want to make sure that it's sustainable, that it's here for the long term. We know how important that it is to communities, families, childcare operators, and the highly trained early childhood educators that work as staff in these facilities. We want to make sure that we're also building upon the successes of the initial program, of which there's still a year left of funding. It doesn't expire until March of 2026, but there's some tweaks we'd like to make to that particular program that would be of benefit. As the minister on the file, I've been hearing from and meeting with childcare operators and communities across this province. As a matter of fact, I had a meeting just yesterday with face-to-face for an hour and a half or so with childcare operators in Southwest Saskatchewan and their association. So this is a priority for us, and it is for communities, for families right across this province, and we will get that deal signed with the federal government and to make sure that we have and can continue to build upon more spaces, adding more spaces, and to a great childcare system we have here in Saskatchewan. Thanks for the question.
Thank you. Microphone number 5, please.
Good morning. Betty Abbott, Councillor Town of Maple Creek. My question is for Premier Moe. With the federal government and the election looming and the Liberal government's leader stating that we have one economy, not 13, and the discussion around Canada First, I'd like to know what your thoughts are on what do they really mean, one economy, not 13.
Yeah, you'd have to ask him that. I have no idea what that means. And for that matter, I don't have a lot of understanding of many things that have came out of the Liberal Party over the last 9 years. That being said, you're right. There is an election happening on April the 28th, and I did an interview yesterday with the Globe and Mail where I spoke about the opportunity that whoever is the Prime Minister and whoever is the governing party, it would be Pierre Poilievre or Mark Carney, I suspect, at that time, unless Jagmeet pulls off some sort of a miracle. He'll be competing with the Greens for the back seats. Sorry, I better be careful here. But I just say, here, I want to get to my point, which is the opportunity that whoever the Prime Minister is on April the 28th has. They have a tremendous opportunity to unite Canadians. Tremendous opportunity to unite Canadians. But what they are going to have to do, what that individual is going to have to do, is to put all Canadians in all regions, regardless of the industries that they work with, above their political ideology. And if that happens, we have a tremendous opportunity to come together as what I think can be, again, one of the strongest nations in the world. If whoever wins that election puts their political ideology ahead of treating all Canadians fairly, and isn't willing to change some of the policies and direction and legislation that we've seen over the course of the last 9 years that, quite honestly, do not treat all Canadians in all regions, regardless of the industry they work in, fairly. If that leader puts every Canadian ahead of their political ideology, we have a tremendous opportunity to come together, united as Canadians moving forward. If that choice is not made, and that political ideology that we've seen in the last 9 years continues on into the future, we are going to have a very challenging conversation in this nation.
Thank you. Microphone number 6, please.
Good morning, Michelle Krieger, Mayor, Town of Alameda.
Thank you.
Our local health center, the Galloway Health Center, services a large population right in the southeast corner of the province. It is fully staffed, but unfortunately, with our regional hospitals over full and Regina overflowing, we sit there with 10 empty beds because of the designation put upon us by SHA. So my question basically is, we have a fully staffed facility. We have doctors who are frustrated that they have to continually send patients away after 24 hours and can't look after them. Why is this being allowed to continue when other bigger hospitals don't have the capacity to treat those types of patients when we could keep them at home?
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. And, I know, Minister Carr especially has been engaging with the arm of Enniskillen and the other local communities in that area to understand what the challenges are specifically at Galloway. I know when this issue came up in the fall, we had both the ministry and the Saskatchewan Health Authority engaging directly with the physicians in the area, understanding their willingness to provide a higher level of service. And I remember saying on the radio about this back in the fall, this is a great conversation to have, right? Every community wants to have this type of conversation. We have the resources, we are ready to go, we want to provide a higher level of service. I would just caution, specifically in this case, we need to make sure that all of the physicians in the community are engaged and willing to do that. We're continuing discussions with the local community. I know even Minister Carr, as recently as last week, was having some conversation with the facility and the Saskatchewan Health Authority about equipment upgrades that need to happen and that the community is engaged on. So we're continuing the work on Galloway. Obviously, if there's an opportunity to increase level of service, that's fantastic. But the whole continuum of staff has to be ready to go and prepped. And I think if we get to that point, we'll certainly look at a change in designation for Galloway.
Thank you very much. Going to go to microphone number 1 up in the balcony.
Chris Griffin, Town of Stoughton, Councillor. SaskTel, a Crown corporation, began fiber optic construction in our town without any formal notice or communication. They never made their presence known before tearing into our infrastructure. The damage has been substantial. Streets, alleys, cut up curbs, anything they did repair was either minimally or left incomplete. The biggest issue was the use of overweight vehicles on restricted roads during spring bans. This alone caused serious and lasting damage. We've already spent $89,000 just fixing half a street, and we're starting down a nearly $200,000 repair cost. This is a huge burden in these tight times in a small town of 600 people. No one from SaskTel has come to assess our damage or speak with us, and we've heard similar stories from other communities. So my question is, what will the province do to hold SaskTel accountable for this damage, and how will small municipalities be protected from being left with the bill?
Thank you. Minister?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question. I appreciate it. And not familiar with the individual details, but we, without question, will follow up directly with the community. And I presume that this has to do with the rural fiber rollout initiative from SaskTel. And unfortunate to hear the circumstance. And like I said, we will follow up on it. But with regard to the rural rollout, you know, the issue that Stoughton would be facing if in another province is one there wouldn't be rural fiber being rolled out, because SaskTel are really undertaking an initiative that if it were a private sector, a Bell or a Rogers or a TELUS, they wouldn't be putting fiber into communities of 600 to 1,000 people, because the economics, they would say, really don't make sense. We made a decision as government to direct SaskTel to work with local communities to install fiber so that residents would have the ability to access high-speed internet. And that's an initiative that we're really quite proud of. We had a chance to talk about it at length the other night in estimates, but we, without question, will follow up with the community to make right what went wrong. And we're going to continue our rural fiber rollout into a lot of communities represented here in this room. We're at phase 7 right now. Phase 8 will be coming, and that will include, I think, a whole lot of folks and residents who you represent for getting rural fiber.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Microphone number 2, please.
Thank you. Shannon Zakitniak, Regina City Council, and I'm also a SUMA board member. My question is related to the pausing of the output-based performance standards for industrial emissions. So the government recently announced this was paused, citing the need to protect Saskatchewan businesses and residents from economic uncertainty in the face of ongoing tariff threats. And I agree that it's very important to protect Saskatchewan businesses and residents. And so what I want to know what sort of consideration was given with this. What I heard the Premier say is that it wouldn't have an impact because it didn't with the United States. But what I want to know is about the Canadian Border Adjustment Mechanism, which is from the European Union, will be expected to be fully implemented in 2026, will require importers to demonstrate a carbon price has been paid on goods. So what is the government?
They need to know what the question is. Can we get 3 more seconds?
Yes, please. So has that been considered, and will it be considered? That's my question.
Thank you.
So first, no concerns with trade around the world. In Saskatchewan, as I said the other day, trades and exports to over 160 countries around the world. Many of those countries do not have this insidious tax charged on their industries. We do here in Canada. Many of those countries trade with the European Union. Russia, for example, was providing the European Union with about 1/3 of their natural gas up to the time that they had started their illegal invasion of Ukraine. And so I have really no concerns with respect to that. Further to that, Saskatchewan produces the most sustainable products that you can find on earth, whether it's the agri-food products that we produce, whether it's the oil and gas that we produce, whether it's the potash that we produce has half the carbon content of the next largest suppliers. You pick the product, and Saskatchewan, and I would say by extension, Canadian products are some of the most sustainable that you can find on earth, regardless of whether they have this regressive tax on them or not. In Saskatchewan, we have removed, not only now the consumer carbon tax is removed, but the output-based heavy emitter tax is removed as well. In Saskatchewan, that is largely where you will notice that, is it'll be removed entirely from your Sask Power energy bill, which speaks to the largest portion of this tax is being paid by residents on their power bill, of which you don't really have a choice on whether or not you're going to use power or not into the future. And so we removed that. Saskatchewan today is the first carbon tax-free province in the nation of Canada. And I would say that as we look through the months ahead, we're likely going to be the first of many carbon tax-free provinces across Canada, as other provinces are having a very close eye to this, as is whoever the federal government might be.
Thank you. Okay, we'll be taking the last question around 11:10, 11:15. Microphone number 3, please.
Nick Wood, Mayor, Town of Porcupine Plain. So healthcare is the responsibility of the provincial government. Looking after a hospital, clinic, and EMS services is more than a small town mayor or my administration has the resources or scope to look after. So we could speak all day, but I'm going to give you one that I think can be solved easily. We're going to talk about SIPA program. I've spoken to foreign doctors living in Canada who are waiting to be contacted by SIPA. I had a doctor contact me who wanted to practice in my community but wasn't able to contact SIPA. I had a doctor leave my community on the SIPA program because their husband couldn't get a SIPA contact. So is the province at some point going to step in and get involved in this program and make the changes required? The current intake level is going to continue to compound the problem, and the communication and transparency from them is awful.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. And we had the opportunity to talk about this in the dialogue session earlier this morning. The SIPA program has been very successful in our province for many years. However, what we're seeing, and I'm sure you're feeling this the same in many of your communities, is the program is not working as well in recent years. So we have initiated a full review of the SIPA program, how it works, how we intake individuals into the SIPA program, how they're supported once they're in community, and then how we make sure that once they finish their SIPA return of service, that they stay in our communities. That's really what we're trying to get to, right? So I can tell you that we are currently underway of that review of the SIPA program. We look forward to finishing that. I know that I'm pushing both the ministry and the Saskatchewan Health Authority on how we can get to a better place on that. I'll also say, something that I've been working on just in recent weeks is understanding how we can provide better pathways for international medical graduates in our province. And I think that's a very important thing to do. We have had people from Saskatchewan go and train in medical schools all around the world. And they want to come, many of them want to come back to our province, to your community, whether it be large or small, and practice. There are some challenges with the way that the current residency program in Canada views international medical graduates versus Canadian medical graduates. There's sometimes good reason for that. But we also want to make sure that if these people have the right training, they have the right aptitude, and if they have the desire to be in our communities, we want to find the best possible pathway for them to practice and really, at the end of the day, serve patients. So that's another thing we're working on, but certainly on the SIPA piece, I answered that question earlier today, but I'll just, for the benefit of everybody at the convention, we are reviewing that program and expect to get to a better place very soon on that.
Thank you, Minister Cockrell. Microphone number 4, please.
Jasmine Deblowa, councillor for the town.
Sorry, can you speak into the mic and can we turn it up?
Jasmine Deblowa, councillor for the town of Willabunch.
Thank you.
My question was answered about an official announcement regarding Sask Power, but on
Can you speak up a bit? Sorry, right into the mic.
On behalf of all the communities.
Good.
Is it good? Okay. On behalf of all the communities in our area, I just wanted to express our gratitude to the government for extending the lifespan of the Poplar River Mine and Power Plant. It's greatly appreciated.
Okay. I'm supposed to remind you that I need to have questions. Can I go to microphone number 5, please?
Hi, good afternoon, or good morning. Bill Pawlinsky, Mayor from Prince Albert. I want to refer back to an article in June 2023 where our SUMA Vice President, Gerald Abers, indicated that the barriers put in place for accessing services, the rates remain far below the cost of living, and evictions that occur because the province no longer pays landlords directly are responsible for the ever-increasing numbers of people on our streets. Premier, you mentioned that those are things we can talk about, direct quote, if there are some areas where the program can be strengthened. Further, you indicated that the direct payment of rent and utilities is still possible within the income support program. The quote is, all of that can happen if it just needs to be requested. Now, we are, budget counseling trusteeships doubled in the province, but we're standing there with our finger in the dike and the water's coming over the top. We know that we need to meet participants where they're at, and if they need trusteeship, that should be identified at the beginning of the intake process.
Question, please.
When will the government respond in a proactive way? Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question, Bill. And you know, with the CIS direct payment, that is true. We do have trusteeships around the province supplied by different community-based organizations. We have 1,200 available spots, and at the current time, I think we're sitting around 1,120. As more trusteeships are needed, we will be more than happy and more than able to add to that. Now, one of the areas where we know that there's some tightening that maybe needs to happen, and that is with CIS recipients. And going back to one of the big issues that people face is with addictions. We know that we've got some CIS clients that have addictions, and that's where their money is going to. So we are working right now on some policy that will be addressing that, so that those individuals don't fall through the cracks, so that they are either their rent is paid, direct pay, depending on the situation that they're in, and whether or not they're willing to accept treatment and get into a facility. So that's one area that we're looking to tighten up, so that individuals, when it comes to getting their rent paid and their utilities paid, that actually does happen. So you know, we're working very hard within the ministry to come up with some guardrails for those individuals.
Thank you very much. We're good? Great. Microphone number 6, please.
Dennis Doughton, Mayor of Christopher Lake, Village of Christopher Lake, and my question comes from fellow sportsmen, and what it's about is they would like to see a better system of communicating with landowners to access land for hunting. And earlier this week we were in the environment, they were talking about how deer are coming into town and dying off, and they're feeding the deer, some people are. That ain't our problem. In Christopher Lake, we got timber wolves and mountain lion running around there, and they keep the deer in the town because they're scared. But anyway, all we want to do is see some form, like you'll see on the map, and you don't know how to get a hold of these people. So, or even go one step further and say, this land, you can hunt on this land, or you know what I mean? Let us know. That's all we want. They want. I'm talking on their behalf, and my own too.
All right, Minister Kasich.
Absolutely, Dennis. Thanks for the question. I mean, secretly, I'm hoping one of our very astute young people in Saskatchewan is going to invent an app that we can all have on our phone and work together to solve some of these problems. It'd be convenient. The iHunter app, my daughter's boyfriend uses it, and he's had quite a bit of success with it. I know we put a lot of funding in joint with SARM on trying to develop some technology and everything else. It's something that's front of mind, and we're going to work together. We'll come up with a solution. The technology will catch up with the policies here eventually, but it's a valid question.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 1, please.
Good morning. Norman McDonald, Councillor of Town of Wolseley. Over the past decade, municipalities have been seeking guidance in this forum on challenges posed by aging infrastructure and proactive strategies for mitigating the rising costs of aging infrastructure systems, along with a formal program to secure funding for this critical need across all municipalities, irrespective of size. When will this occur?
Thanks for the question, Norman. As the provincial government and as the Ministry of Government Relations, we advocate regularly and partner with the federal government on obtaining funding dollars through grants to help correct and maintain infrastructure issues throughout the province. Right now, most recently, we're going to be announcing the program details on CHIF, the Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund. It is the replacement program to the ISIP program, which was very successful and widely utilized across the province. We've seen that narrowed in scope to specifically housing-related infrastructure. We want to advocate, we will advocate once the new government is formed after the election federally to bring a wider scope into frame when we're advocating for funding dollars for infrastructure programs. We do have programs in place. The Canada Community Building Fund is still there, that was formerly known as gas tax. Those options are available. We also have partnerships in infrastructure like recreation facilities. You can form partnerships with your neighbors, and we'll fund a portion of that, the logistics in getting that set up through the targeted sector support. There's several programs that are in place right now, and more coming in the coming months. So look out for those. If you have any questions or want to know if there are programs available to fit your specific needs, please reach out to the Ministry of Government Relations. We've had our very competent staff here, officials here this week, and they've answered a great number of questions for people. So if anybody in this auditorium or anybody you know that wants to receive more information on the potential grant funding that's available currently and ones that may be coming online, please reach out. We will definitely help you and help you in the application as well. I had to mention to some people today that, you know, as a government, we're not putting these grant funding programs out because we don't want you to apply. We don't want to put barriers in your way to stop you from applying. We want to make sure that you're successful in the application. We're putting it out there so that we can help support the communities, and that's key for us. So thank you for your question.
Randy, if I just summarize that a little bit. We have the Canada Housing Infrastructure Plan Fund in place now, which is the CHIF grant, which I really view as bridge funding. One thing you can be sure of, and this is somewhat in the context of an election happening federally on April the 28th. The best infrastructure plans are ones that are cost-shared between the federal, provincial, and municipal governments. And you can rest assured that when there is a new government or the re-election of an existing government, often what they will do is they will ball up whatever infrastructure plan is there. They're going to rename it, put their priorities on it, and send it out the door. This is a place, I think, where SUMA, CFM, SARM, and provincial governments across the nation can really ask the question in a post-April 28th environment of whoever the national government is and whoever the Prime Minister is one, we need a stable, secure infrastructure program. Two, it needs to be cost-shared between municipalities, provincial government, as well as the federal government. And three, the parameters of the terms of that program, and there will be priorities on it that come from whoever the federal government is. But the costs we need flexibility in it. We need flexibility in how we are going to utilize that infrastructure program so that it can address a small, village or town's needs, as well as address some of the needs that are in our larger centers like Saskatoon and across Canada, Vancouver and Toronto. And so this is a place, I think, where we can really align with our ask of whoever the new government is one, we need a stable infrastructure program moving forward that's cost shared. Two, it needs to be flexible so that municipalities can address the needs that they have.
Thank you.
Make some closing comments. Okay. Thank you very much, Premier Moe. I'll turn it over to you for any closing comments you'd like to make.
I would just close with how we started in saying thank you for all you do. Again, today, they call it a bear pit session, but we find it, and we talk about this often as a cabinet and as a government, just how truly valuable this time is to see the priorities in communities across the province. And I would encourage you in closing we are a government that does want to work with you. There's times when maybe we can't, get to precisely what you might want as quickly as you might like us to get there. But our door is always open to suggestions, and we're always looking at, what opportunities we might have to align with municipal leaders and ultimately align with communities across the province in the initiatives that benefit the people that collectively we together represent across this great province. So thank you for your service in your community, and thank you more broadly for being here and providing us some input today.
Thank you. So,
and I missed one thing. Thank you, Randy, for hosting. Congratulations, Randy Golden, on your re-election as president.
Thank you very much. So, as electeds, we understand the sacrifice that you and your families have to make to enable you to serve the residents of this province. We want to thank you for everything that you do to help our province move forward, and thanks for taking the time to join Summa Bear Pit session today. Can we please express our gratitude to the Premier and Cabinet? Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Riley. Thank you so much. You too, sir. Thank you. Just get you to hold tight. We have a little bit of program left to go before we, as Cabinet leads. Thank you, Minister. All right. We have a little bit of business to do, and with that, I'm going to turn things back over to Trevor. Okay. Give me 1 second.
Delegates, please give a warm welcome to Summa President and Councillor for the City of Yorkton, Randy Golden.
How are you doing, Summa? What do you think? How's it been? So, I am so proud to say we've had such a successful convention. I don't know if you did the count, but we have 1,100 delegates, and we have 600 exhibitors that were here to provide the marketplace for you. So that is 1,700 people have gathered over the time here in Saskatoon. So thank you, Summa, for doing just that. A hand for yourselves. Now, it is my honor to really say the reason that all of this went so well, the busing, the accommodations, and everything on site, with all those people and making sure all your needs are met. And we know there were a few challenges, but we're working on it. It is my privilege to thank our Summa staff. We have a small but mighty staff, so ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a big hand. Well, along with these last 4 days, this has been a year of culmination for Summa. Little bit of history here. You will recall that at last year's AGM, I stood at the podium and you, the membership, voted to change the structure of the Board of Directors from its current 18-member model to a much leaner 7-member structure. That change was a result of hundreds and hundreds of hours of research and consultation and will come into effect immediately when we leave this building. In February, you either appointed or voted for the members of your regional caucuses. And just yesterday, you elected chairs of those caucuses. Those chairs, along with myself as president, will form the new board of directors. That will lead SUMA through the rest of 2025 and into the future. So exciting. Allow me to be the first to formally welcome those caucus members to their new role within the SUMA family. You have very, very important work to do, and I look forward to working alongside of you for the next 4 years. I would encourage all of you in attendance to get to know the members of your caucus. Alongside the SUMA staff, they will be heading up advocacy for your sector and will be looking forward to creating the relationships with you. As well as the other orders of government. We'll be working with the other orders of government and SUMA's many, many partners. So alongside intentionally getting to know your caucus members, convention is one of the best opportunities SUMA provides for municipal peers to connect with one another. It's like the municipal peer network, but multiplied by hundreds. I sincerely hope you all have spent the last 3 days answering questions, looking for answers, and seeking out new and interesting conversations. Sometimes all we need to solve a long-standing issue in our community is a fresh perspective. And there are many of those right here in this room. And it's been done right. You can leave convention with enough tips, tricks, and advice to last you until next year's convention. And you will have new connections to reach out to long after we're all gone back to our respective communities. SUMA knows the power of relationships. Each year, we seek out partnerships that can help us advance our advocacy efforts and amplify your voices to other orders of government. This year, we committed to partnerships with many, many organizations. With the Johnson Shoyama School of Public Policy, we signed a memorandum of understanding that facilitated a MITRAX-funded postdoctoral position, fostering Saskatchewan's municipal capacity to advance sustainability across the province. For our Francophone members, we engaged in a partnership with the ACF, which will help engage SUMA members and lend support when they seek government Francophone-related funding. And a collaboration with EcoWest has allowed us to move ahead with plans for a Saskatchewan-based Municipal Economic Action Centre. We have also continued to build on important, long-standing relationships, such as those with our sister organizations like UMass and SARM, and others like the Saskatchewan Water Agency and the newly rebranded Sask Recycles. We also spent a lot of time over the past year defining what it means to be part of the urban family with our We Are Urban campaign. We carried that theme over to convention this year because it was so important that each of you felt included, from the smallest village to the largest city. Well, it was well-known landmarks like the town of Wolseley's Craft Bear, the beloved heritage building like the resort village of Manitou Beach's Danceland, and a recreational facility like Yorkton's Gallagher Centre, or even an event like Moose Jaw's Moose Jog charity race. I've so enjoyed seeing the community treasures each of you chose to highlight for the We Are Urban campaign. Finally, we took the We Are Urban thread into our provincial election campaign, bringing together a cohesive package of asks, highlighting urban municipal needs. Those asks fell under 3 broad categories: municipal revenues, municipal responsibilities, and provincial downloading. As part of our campaign, SUMA staff created videos and informational text in English and in French to be shared on social media. and the organization placed radio ads on Rolco Radio. SUMA's CEO and myself as president gave a record number of interviews regarding the campaign and SUMA's election asked. Now that the provincial government is in place, many of whom you've had the opportunity to speak to over the course of the past few days, SUMA is continuing the momentum generated by the We Are Urban campaign to advocate for your needs. Outside of the election asks, SUMA's advocacy team had several other major wins. To name just a few, we secured additional funding for RCMP officers from the provincial government. We saw important updates to the municipal acts around assessment appeals and conducting electronic meetings, and continue to push forward on cornerstone advocacy issues, mental health, and addictions. In closing, I would like to thank the current board of directors and you, the membership, for all you've done to help us move forward into a newly modernized organization. I look forward to seeing how our new governance structure and caucus models make our advocacy stronger and help with capacity building and provide our members with even more value. On behalf of both the outgoing and the incoming SUMA Board of Directors, thank you. Thank you for joining us in Saskatoon for Convention 2025, and we look forward to seeing you again next year in Regina. So, SUMA members, I'll now turn the stage over to our MC, Trevor, to officially wrap up the convention. Thank you, safe drive home, and we'll be talking in the near future.
One more huge round of applause for your president, who I've been jokingly referring to as my co-host all week. I think we've passed in the hallway on and off the stage a dozen times. So one more huge round of applause for your president. Breathe with me. We're here, right? We're at the end. It's been a great week. We have a few key things. We want to get through one more speaker, and we got some prizes to get through here today and do our closing remarks. I'm going to land this plane in 7 minutes. Are you ready? That's my hope. All right. We are going to get into the prizes. Now, the prizes were from the contest based on the app, and there were a ton of people that participated. There were a ton of ties. The top 4 names were tied, so they were developed or brought into the 3 prizes through random draw. You must be in the room to win the prize. We have a long list of names to go through if the people who are named as winners are not here, but we will go through that process, and we've got the prizes coming out for that. So when we look at the prizes, the first one is a set of Beats Studio Pro wireless headphones in black and gold. Look at them framed over there wonderfully. Let's have an ooh. Yes? Thanks for playing along. Great. And this goes to Donovan Fair from Gravelburg. Donovan in the room? Donovan's right up front. Big round of applause to Donovan as he makes his way up for his Beats headphones. Which leads us to prize number 2. Sticks and Doodles Prairie Lily Art, Lily and Wheat, 18 inches, beautiful item. This goes to the winner, Zach Ogilvy from Gravelburg. Congratulations, Zach. And our third and final prize before we get to our final speaker here, or final session here this morning, is the upgraded sampler bundle from Rampage Coffee. Please give a round of applause to our winner, Riley Henderson, Christopher Lake. In the room? Give us a yell. Do we have? They're there, right there. We're on their way. Excellent. Big round of applause to all our winners here today. So we're going to turn the floor over here for a final piece. Lyndon Lakelighter is a traditional knowledge keeper and storyteller. He has an educational background in Indigenous social work, Indian studies, and some law. He is a citizen of the Thunderchild First Nations, Plains Cree, in Treaty 6, and has roots in the Couchiching First Nation, Fort Francis, Ontario, in Treaty 3. He's the longest serving member of the Office of the Treaty Commissioner Speakers Bureau since he was appointed in 2000. Please, a warm welcome, Lyndon Linklater.
All right. I'm very honored again to have been asked to do a closing blessing. But before I do that, I just want to, thank all of you for coming. I want to thank you for your service, for the work that you do, to make the places where we live a better place. It's very, very important work that you all do. And without you, we wouldn't have what we have in our province, in our country. So with that, I'm going to offer a prayer in my language for you to have safe journeys home to your respective fires, as we call them, to have a good traveling road. I hope that over the last few days that you've been here, that you've been able to meet and network and make new relationships to help build your communities better than they were, and I'm sure you did that. So I just want to thank SUMA for asking an Indigenous person to come and be part of the opening and the closing ceremonies. Our country is undergoing this thing called Truth and Reconciliation. Like, it's a good thing. It's a long time coming. And it's something that I truly believe we have to get used to. I can't help but tell a story. My late grandfather went to World War II. He came from Thunderchild First Nation. He volunteered. He was 19 years old. He didn't have to go to war, but he went on a very special day called D-Day, and he went to this very special place called Juno Beach, and he was in the 3rd Regiment, so he was the 3rd wave of Canadian soldiers that stormed the beaches. And as we know in our country here, that's the day we lost the most casualties. So personally, growing up as a child, we were always taught to be proud of our grandfather, of our mushum, for what he did. And I know I'm not the only one, but I take pride in my poppy that I wear, at the end of October and into November. I take great pride in that poppy. And I don't know how I would feel if somebody was to come up to me one day and say, you know what, Lyndon, when are we going to stop wearing those poppies? Can't we just move forward and get over it? I'd be like, ooh. And I know I'm not the only one who would feel like that. That's where we have to go, that same place, when people say, when are we going to get over those orange shirts? Why do we got to wear those orange shirts on September 30th? Can't we just move forward, get ahead? You see? It's the same equivalency. And that's what's going to happen one day, and it's already happening. So anyways, I want to share that perspective with you. Thanks, Suma, once again for asking me to come and, start you off in a good way and end in a good way. And this is something that's never going to go away. And the sooner we get used to it, the better off we're all going to be. So thank you for coming. Thank you for your service. Thank you so much. So with that, I offer a prayer in my mother's language to give thanks for this day, for us to have safe journeys home, for our families to be healthy, for our communities to be healthy, for our province and our country to be a better place than it is. So with that, I'll say a few words, and it's yab dabba doo time. Okay, there we go. Have an awesome day. Thanks so much.
Keep the round of applause going for Lyndon, everybody. We're home. We're there. A couple of final notes and a couple of final thank yous for us to get through. But it has been a great day. First of all, from my side of the stage, as an outsider looking in, I thank all the delegates and everybody from the organization for making me feel so welcome to be a part of your event. My hope is that events like this, we know they're informative, we know they're engaging, we know they are intense and they're exhausting. My hope is that somewhere along the line, we allowed it to be somewhat entertaining and fun along the way for you. I want to put a few thank yous in, if I can. First of all, thank you to all of you. Big round of applause to the delegates because you make the energy of the day. Big round of applause to yourselves. We also want to thank the staff here at TCU Place, from catering to everything, as well as Dutch up in the booth, Mark in the back, and all of the staff on the wings who have made everything transition to and from the stage. Huge thank you to the team for everything you've done. The survey will go out at the end. You can actually do a survey. They'll email it to you, but it is also available on the app. You can hop in and do the survey there. Anybody that does the survey will be eligible for a prize, and this is your chance to give feedback on the event this year and shape the event for future years. So we encourage you to make sure you get in and get that survey done. Speaking of next year, they have saved the dates for you, April 12th to 15th in Regina. They said there will be hotel rooms, bookings, and blocks available later. You don't need to do anything yet. Just wait for more information. But save those dates on your calendar, April 12th through 15th in Regina. The name tags, those are yours to keep. Take them with you. You do not need to return those at that front desk on the way through. But I want to tie just a quick ribbon and bow on what I've heard here at this event and what I've seen at this event. I see a room full of people, and I hear conversations, whether it was Pamela on the stage as a keynote, whether you were listening to Gabor Mate, all of the speakers, the comments in the sessions with the ministers and the premier. I see a passionate group of people who understand that you are all better together. I see a group of people who are leading change, and change is not easy. Change is challenging, and change is stressful. You've all embraced change. You are being the change. And I encourage you all to take the information you have here and continue to move forward in a way that you all already do. You're passionate. You are change makers. My hope is that you embrace the change that is in your world and lead as an example for the change of the people that follow your lead. Change is scary. Let's go first. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for my time here. I've enjoyed each and every one of you. I've enjoyed all the amazing conversations. You are a well-networked group. You are a friendly bunch, and that is the Saskatchewan power. I encourage you all to be well. I encourage you all to be courageous, and I encourage you all to be the change that you are seeing in this province. I wish you all safe travels, nothing but the best. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Trevor Moore, and it has been an honor and a privilege to pilot this agenda with all of you. Be well, everyone, and have a great day.